What is good, YouTube? Quinn Wade basketball analysis coming to you with a quick video. Today we're going to talk about one of the biggest and most iconic players of this generation, Russell Westbrook, and he has been playing with the Wizards, shooting 18 shots per game. Not only that, he's only knocking them down at a 37% clip, 30% from three, a terrible 61% from the free throw line. And on top of that, he's getting 5.2 turnovers per game. Absolute abysmal performance. Is just absolutely terrible right now offensively. Can't find his groove. Can't find his spots. He's still taking shots. Russell Westbrook is a fearless guy. He's a guy that's going to come at you. He's a guy that feels like he's indestructible. But at the same time, that mentality has aged as he has become one of the most iconic players. And now people look at him as the problem. People look at him as a guy you can't win with. Everybody looked at his heart and how he played and how much he was so fun to watch, and now everybody critiques and criticizes him. A lot of people still believe in Russell Westbrook at the end of the day when he got traded to Washington. They feel like him and Bill, that should be enough to make the playoffs. And they're the worst team in the NBA right now. I know they had injuries. I know they had a lot of problems with health and COVID, and Russell Westbrook missed some time with injuries, but he hasn't looked good all season. He didn't even look good in the bubble before this season started. And you can say COVID this, COVID that, but at the end of the day, he just didn't look good. And he continued that so far. So, the numbers are still decent, 18-10 when you look at it from that perspective, still being a great rebounder at the end of the day for his position with the ability to almost get 9.7, almost averaging a triple double. But the thing that we have been saying about Russell Westbrook is the numbers are not telling the full story. You look at what he did in Houston, and he's an All NBA third team guy. He's an All Star, and then you look at him in the bubble, and he was just a different player. But that's every year in the playoffs. He put up these historic numbers, back to back triple doubles, in the playoff. I mean, the regular season, and then they got to the playoffs, and they didn't even get out of the first round at all, with him being the best player on the team. And him going to Houston, they had to change a lot of their team just to benefit Russ, so he can play his best basketball and he can be at his best. And that didn't work either, as they went 7 games with the Oklahoma City Thunder, and they ended up only winning 1 game against the Lakers, and they was done to the point where the Rockets felt like they had to blow it up. I questioned the duo of James Harden and Russell Westbrook. I thought, like, if this is your duo, are they good enough to win the title? Are they a championship duo? And you wouldn't believe that 5 years ago that they wouldn't be. But 5 years later, it was reality, as nobody really seen the Rockets as a championship contender all year. And it wasn't just because of Russell Westbrook, it was just the way the style of play and how they constructed the roster. But a lot of it did have to do with how he plays and how to suit him best to get the best out of him. And I feel like the Wizards would be a good fit with him. You put Russell Westbrook in a situation where he has a bunch of shooters and he has the ability to get to the basket and do whatever he wants to do. But when you look at the turnovers and the efficiency, he's not really helping this team. Not only is he not playing back to backs, which is important because they're going to have a lot of that this season, and is even worse because they postpone games, which means they're going to have to fit them in the schedule, which means you're going to have to do them anyway. And if you can't depend on Russ and he's not going to be there, that hurts because you traded John Wall for a guy that is on a huge contract too, and you're worse than you was last year. Last year they was a team that was in the play-in. This team, they're the worst team in the NBA. And I know that it's tough for them because of the way they've been losing and how they've been losing, and the fact that their defense is just so bad that you can just get a layup every time. And they have no pride, they have no fight. And honestly, Russell Westbrook looks the same. He's not competing defensively. He's not playing as hard. To me, it looks like he's going through the motions. He just going out there and playing and putting up numbers and living with the result, whether they win or lose. And that's something that we didn't see in Russ. Russ was a person that was always coming at you. He was always hungry. He was always trying to prove a point. And now it just seems like he's calm and relaxed and just playing basketball because it's his job, not because he's enjoying it, not because he loves it. And I've been feeling that way this whole season. He wanted to leave Houston and go to a team where he can do what he's best at and do, what made him the Russell Westbrook that we know today. And there's not a problem with that, but he has yet to do it. The numbers may tell you one thing, but Russ don't look like himself, even personality wise. And another thing is Russ, for him to be on a team like that, this is a team that needs him to have the season that he had with Houston. They need that 27 point per game Russ. They need that Russ that's literally shooting over 40%, 45, 47% from the field instead of the one that's shooting 37%. And you would think that he would be able to do it. 18 shots a game is a lot, especially for a guy of Russ caliber that has always shot in the 20s, even with Kevin Durant, even with James Harden. And he hasn't been doing that. So I don't really know what's going on with Russ. I don't really know what the Wizards do, as they gave up John Wall in a pick to get Russ, and Russ hasn't really helped them at all. And he hasn't been able to be healthy. And even when he's healthy, he's just not dominant. He's just not an all-star. Like, it's crazy that a lot of people thought that Russ will make this team a guaranteed playoff team, that Russ will be an upgrade over John Wall in that trade, and it's just been the complete opposite. It really has been the complete opposite, and this just doesn't look good for Russ' career. If he can't figure it out, and if he can't at least get back to somewhat of what he was last year, his contract was already hard to move. It's only going to be harder, because who's really going to trade for him with them playing like this, and who really going to want that contract when he's not raising the ceiling of the team? If not, he might make them worse, because you have to adjust and adapt to his play style and his game just to make the team work. And, you look at a team like Washington, they don't really have too many guys that need the ball, and they don't really have too many guys that dominate the ball outside of Bradley Beal. So Russ should be able to do the things that we're accustomed to seeing him doing with the Wizards. I mean, we should be seeing one of the best versions of Russ right now. And instead, we're seeing the worst version of Russ since his rookie and sophomore seasons. And that's something that I wouldn't have thought would happen, even though I thought the Wizards was going to be bad and I didn't think they was going to make the playoffs. I didn't think that they'd be the worst team in the NBA. And I don't think that they would be this terrible. But also, I didn't expect Russ, demanding the trade and wanting out and going to a free flowing offense where he can do whatever he wants and take the shots that he wants. I thought that would be a good fit for him, and it has been the complete opposite. So they still have time to figure it out. They still have some guys coming back, and they still have, some more games to get Russ accustomed and ready. Maybe he can turn it around a little bit, or maybe this is just the Russ that he is now. He always been an athletic freak, and he is getting older. His jump shot has never been reliable. Even from mid range is a shot that he likes, but it's not a shot that he was highly efficient at. And the fact that he still shoots threes and really can't make them at all hasn't really allowed him to adjust and adapt and evolve in the game. His game has been aging, and his game has been declining depending on the personnel. And now we're just seeing, it come to reality. But, Russ hears what people say. He knows what people think. And he knows that he has to play better. And he is getting a lot of the blame for what the Wizards are performing and doing. And he should. He's one of the highest paid players on this team. And he was one of the reasons why people had hope that the Wizards could be good. And they had hope that, they can be in the playoffs. And he has been one of the reasons why they have been bad, whether it's him missing games or not playing well when he does play. And he does play a part into the failure of this season so far. So we'll see if he's able to figure it out. Like I said, when he played with the Rockets last year, he didn't get off to the greatest start, and then he was able to find his way once they changed the roster a little bit. Maybe the Wizards do that, as it's going to be tough to move his contract, and their team is basically what it is. Maybe they make a couple moves. Maybe some guys come back and Russ start getting his feeling back, and he start, getting his feel back for the game. And maybe he can turn it around and help him win more games and put up better numbers and be a little bit more efficient and smarter with the ball and with his shot selection. And maybe he gets more shots to fall down as the season go on and turns it around. But if Russ is going to play like this, he's going to have the worst contract in the NBA. And he like, if you would have told me this year that Russ wouldn't be an all-star in the East, I would have called you crazy. But it actually looks like he won't be. The way the Wizards have been playing and the way he has played throughout this entire season and in the bubble, Russell Westbrook just doesn't look like that dominant guy anymore. And, he's only getting older and he's only getting slower. So if he isn't going to be able to change and adapt and evolve his game, Russ after this contract is probably going to be a six man. And that sounds crazy, but you look at guys like Chris Paul and these other guys that's in their 30s and they still starting and playing at a high level to a certain extent. And Russ is just in his early 30s. And, you look at him as a guy like, what's next for him? Like, if the Wizards are not going to be able to get out of this contract, the Wizards going to have to take a loss at this point to get off this contract, even if it's this year or in the future. And that's something that they didn't think and we didn't think would happen, but that's actually something that's reality currently and right now. So we'll see what they do with Bradley Beal, and we'll see what the team does as they get guys back and they try to tinker the roster before the season ends. But for them to dig themselves in this hole and for them to be this bad, it's going to be nearly impossible for them to be a playoff team, especially how the NBA has got off to their starts and how other teams have overperformed. It's going to be tough to be able to turn this around without going on a huge win streak, which is going to be difficult to do if they're not going to play any defense like they have done the last 2 years. So that's going to be something interesting. But let me know, is Russ overrated? Is he done? Can he figure it out? Do he just need time to get his feel back and his touch back because of COVID and the injuries, or is this the Russ that he is now? He's still giving you the 10 and 10 and the double digit points, but the efficiency and the turnovers has been declining besides last year. And, this is Russ, at the end of the day. So, let me know what you guys feel and let me know what you guys think. Quinn Wade, basketball analysis signing out. Enjoy your day, and I'll be back to y'all with another video on Saturday.